I bet you can't guess what we're talking about again today. Well, of course you can because you read the title. It's the 2020 theme yet again. This time we're going to build out a creative agency, a consultant, a freelancer's website using 2020 and just a few WordPress plugins that can really make your site shine. And if you're getting into the WordPress space and you're your first time being a consultant, a creative consultant, a photographer, an agency, whatever it is, this might just be the ticket to what you're looking for. It's Plugin Tut, plugintut.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want more stuff like this. Let's set the stage because there's a lot there's a lot to this video. There's a lot that can be done. Design is subjective and layout subjective. I'm going to go over a few key points to how I'm laying out today's lesson. Number one, I'm using the 2020 theme. Number two, I'm using Jetpack for a particular reason. It's really about the galleries, and we don't really even look at it too deep into this video, but there are some core components of Jetpack that you might benefit from if you're an agency or a consultant out there. Number one, sort of these modal galleries, which are really nice and clean. Number two, protecting the site in terms of brute force and spam. Some basic level stats too. If you don't want to use Google Analytics and you're just getting this kind of business off the ground, maybe Jetpack Stats is a ticket for you. And of course, speeding up the site with CDN across their Jetpack Photon service. That's the reason why I recommended Jetpack in this particular case. We're also using the Gravity Forms plugin simply because I own it and I have the license for it, and it was the quickest thing for me to install to show you how I do a contact form specifically for agencies or consultants. And then we'll use CoBlocks plugin, which has a few cool blocks that I like to use along with 2020 and across some other sites that I've built. I will link all of that stuff below so you have access to that. But you can mix and match any of these plugins, especially the contact forms. And of course, certainly Jetpack if you don't want to use it and you want to use something else, totally up to you. I just liked it for a few key points in today's video. How I set up 2020, we'll go over that first. We'll set the big overarching structure before we dive into developing and designing a homepage and then some accessory pages after that. First, you can see right here on the screen, I removed that sort of tannish color background. I set it just to a pure white background. Let's just take a look at that. We'll go into the customizer. And under the colors, I removed, which was somewhere over here, it was like this kind of ish color, sort of, kind of, almost. Actually, if we just hit default, you'll see that. We remove that and we're going to go pure white background so that things just blend a little bit nicer when we're moving blocks around. We don't have to really think about the contrasting effects there. And the other thing I did is just set up a basic footer here. Again, you can do anything that you want to do when you're building out your particular site, just for time is of the essence with this video. So what I did in the footer 1 is I put in the primary navigation so anybody browsing the site can see that. And then on the footer 2, which is on the right-hand side, I put the most recent blog posts and a search bar, right? Your typical things that you're going to see in the footer. All depends up to you on how you want to set this stuff up. One of the other things you could do, which I toyed around with and I didn't keep, was the header and footer sections of the site. You can actually play with the colors of that too, which is kind of cool. I do like that about 2020, and it does change the style or the colors of the fonts or the typography so that you can keep that in line. And you could kind of play with your branding and your logo, whatever it is that you might have if you want to do something like that. But I'm just going to keep it, not that color. I'm just going to keep it white so we keep things pretty seamless. All right, first thing we're going to do is going to work on this home page. This page is called We Live to Serve. That'll be our tagline, and you're going to see why. First and foremost, I'm going to set a featured image. And I'm going to pick this one. Is this the one I want to use? Now let's pick this one. So what I'm going for here is like, hey, this is our agency. We're a digital consultancy. We're going to help you with web, with content marketing, with SEO. We're going to give you that sort of typical feel, like that open, airy office. We're a modern agency, that kind of vibe. So I'm going to use that featured image, which is like this iMac in a modernish IKEA office. And then I'm going to set the template to a cover template. And two key components happen here. Let's go ahead and preview this. Number one, the 2020 cover template comes into play with this big, bright, bold, red, pink color, which sort of puts our featured image in the background and it lays over this overlay. And at the bottom, our page title sort of becomes like this call to action. And with the little design of this arrow that points down, when you click that, it brings you down to the content of the section of that page. So it sort of gives you this vibe like, okay, we can give this sort of call to action, this opening of the door to our website, and hopefully people will then click that arrow to continue. Like there's more of a story here. There's more of a journey to go on. And that's sort of what we're going for when we're designing out this page. So we live to serve. Next thing I'm going to do is say something like this. So I'm going to say our next call to action is we help brands drive more traffic through hard work and fair prices. Okay, and now I'm going to change that to a quote, and even more specifically, I'm going to change that to a pull quote, and then I'm going to make sure that it's wide width. So I want this nice big presentation to our call to action. And then after that, what I might do is show something like example work. So the person has hit the website, they've read our call to action, and now they're like, hey, that's me. Like I want somebody who's going to help me drive more traffic that works hard and charges fair prices, right? Makes sense in the customer's mind. So then I might lead with some example work. And this is where I'm going to use the image block. I'm going to go media library. And I'm going to select, whoops, I don't want the image block. Sorry about that. I want let's switch this to gallery. I'm going to go in the media and I'm going to say, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've selected these stock images of laptops showing websites. And let's go ahead and create this gallery. And let's put this one last because it's kind of like something that you would see in a brand agency's website. I'm going to set that to wide width. We're going to update this, preview it. We live to serve. We help brands drive more traffic through hard work and fair prices. And now the visitor is looking at these project examples, perhaps, that we've put together on our site. And with the Jetpack, has this nice sort of like overlay here, so you can kind of scroll through these. It's just a nice little touch. Again, there's a lot of plugins out there that can do different things. Totally up to you on what you want to use. I just happen to like it. So this is nice. We have this gallery. Here's our example images. Next thing we want to present to the visitor of the website is what are our services. Okay, so they're hooked. They want to be helped. They see our work. And now, what is it that you do? What do you cover? This is where CoBlocks comes in. I'm going to scroll to the CoBlocks block section, and I'm going to use their services block. I believe it's called services. I cannot find it right now in this. Here it is, services. And we're going to set to 3 columns. And we're also going to set this one wide width so that we're keeping beyond that sort of constraints of the content section that 2020 ships with. We're going wide width. It goes a little bit wider. It's not the complete edge-to-edge full width, but it's wide enough. It looks good. And we're going to just pick photos that represent these types of services. So the first service will be, let's say, web design. We'll select that. Looks like these people are looking at something like, hey, we're going to help you design a website. What do you think about that color there? That kind of thing. Go back to the media gallery. Next, we'll do content creation. This person obviously looks like they're writing some content. And then lastly, we'll do SEO. I thought I had one that was more like coder-ish, developer-ish. I don't. I'm just going to select this one. And then we're going to give it the title. So we're going to say web design, content, marketing. We'll do SEO. Whoops. We'll say something like, we make the best websites. We produce the best content. We search engine optimize the best. Chuckling at my own dad jokes for web design. It's an amazing thing. So there's our 3 blocks. Let's go ahead and update that. We'll preview it. It looks exactly as you see it in the content editor, the Gutenberg editor. Boom, there is our 3 services that we're going to lead with. But you might be saying, well, hey, what do we do next? Do we just link these images to our respective services pages? You would think that, but let's go ahead and select the primary services block. And with these co-blocks, services block, we can enable action buttons. And within these action buttons, we can say things like learn more. I'm actually going to just copy that, paste that, and we just edit this and put in a link. The first one is web design. The next one is content marketing. I don't know if I have all these. Yeah, I do. And the last one is SEO. So now our services are linked up to their respective pages. Preview this one more time. And you can see it looks pretty good, right? We're off to the races. We're building things pretty quickly. Again, it's just core Gutenberg. We're not doing a lot of heavy lifting with page builders. It's just co-blocks. And now the next thing we want to introduce to the visitor is a call to action. Okay, so maybe they're not ready to go into one of these individual areas, or maybe they've been to our website before and they're like, how do I get in touch with these people again? How do I do that? We go back to co-blocks, and co-blocks has a nice hero block. And we'll say, book a free consultation. Whoops, if I can spell. Seriously. We'll sit down for an hour, completely free, to talk about your next project. Fix that. Schedule call. And I only have a contact page set up, a single contact page. It's not specifically about scheduling calls. There's certainly, services like a Calendly where you can use that to book a time to talk to you or have your potential customer talk to you. This will just going to bring it right to our traditional contact form page. Let's go ahead and update that. Now, I don't really like it being off to the side. Let's go ahead and preview it. So obviously not a huge fan of having it off to the side. If I was doing something like this was the first hero on the page, that's okay. And then you had all of this content sort of below it. And matter of fact, you can see right there, I left that second button. So let's clear that up. First thing we'll do is select this hero block. And we will switch the buttons. Excuse me, we go into the button blocks, I believe. This one. And we switch it to 1. Update that. Next thing we're going to look at is here, as you see this little divider, we can drag that over to the right, and that will give us a little bit more breathing room for this particular section. But the layout of the hero can be modified. Right now it's left justified. I'm going to throw it right in the center, and I can even bring down the height of this. So I might say this is 300 pixels high or in height. Hit update. Preview it one last time. That looks pretty good to me. It's a pretty good call to action. Book a free consultation. Seriously, this is a free consultation. Let's sit down and have a chat. I'm going to drink some water here. Telling them that, look, we'll sit down for an hour completely free. Talk about your next project. Schedule that call. It'll go to the contact form. So, recap where we're at. We live to serve. I'm interested, says the visitor. We help brands drive more traffic through hard work and fair prices. I am doubly interested, says the visitor. What does your work look like? Oh, this is some beautiful work. I really like these example images. Wonderful. Now, what do you do? What services do you provide? Because I am very interested. Web design, content marketing, SEO. Wonderful. I get it. Book a call. Absolutely. But maybe I'm still not sure. Maybe it's still not clicking with me. Back to co-blocks we go. And we use one of my other favorite blocks here. I feel like it's this multi-purpose kind of block. It's the media card. And the media card introduces sort of this left side image and then a right hand sort of call to action. And I would use this. Again, this is where things get subjective and you can kind of mix and match how you want to do this. But I would put in like a testimonial / case study right on the homepage. So you've been hooked by my call to actions. You see my services. Yeah, there's some justification there. You can do a free consultation, but what's going to seal the deal? It's going to be some social proof. I'm going to say Medeiros was the best for me. And I'm going to switch this to a quote. And this is what I love. I love that I can mix and match Gutenberg blocks within blocks. It's a nice little touch. I'm going to turn this into a quote. So it's got that nice little style. It's just a little nuance difference there, which I really appreciate. Matt made my website, ma.tt, so fast and efficient. He truly is the best WordPress consultant on the web. Who said that, you think? Who do you think said that? We'll say it was Matt Mullenweg. Automatic. Do we have a picture of Matt Mullenweg to put on the side? We don't. We come close. We'll use this one. And what we're going to do here is, again, mix and matching blocks. We're going to put in a button. And we're going to say, read the case study. Case study. I actually made this as a blog post, but that's okay. You can do it however you want. Hit update. Let's preview that homepage once again. And I tell you, this is a pretty good agency homepage. I mean, I think for like not having to put a whole bunch of effort in, a whole bunch of plugins and design work, this really works pretty well for the default 2020 theme. So that's how I would structure the homepage with these blocks and these plugins given to me. Again, we're looking at 2020 theme, Jetpack simply for that overlay and some other accessory features, and the CoBlocks plugin, and then a contact form. And then there's all the other stuff you can do on top to make your business work for you. But let's just explore some of the other pages, that I have set up. Now, you can look at my other 2020 video where I talked about formatting and designing pages. You can see some additional options here. But let me just show you the approach I took. So for the web design page, what I did is I just used a video at the top. Again, I made it wide width. So in my web design page and my core services pages, what I might do as an agency owner or as a consultant is to have a video that explains these areas a little bit more, right? So instead of just reading text, what I would want to do is like, hey, I'm going to have a video. I'm going to go a step beyond. I'm going to really warm the customer up to me and talk about why my web design is better. So that's the approach that I took. I only did this web design page. I didn't do all the other services pages, but that's the idea. I could come in, I could write about my web design stuff. If I edit this page, one of the other nice things about CoBlocks is, I'm going to take another sip of water, is I could go in and, I could put a pricing table in if I wanted to, but I could do, where are the features? I always miss this one. Features. So the features, I could come in and I could scale this up to, I think 3 is the most. Can I go 4? Will it do 4? No, it won't do 4. So features, 3. Again, I might do wide width. And even if I duplicate this, I could come in and I could say like, how do we do web design? Well, hour-long discovery process, creating 3 or less mock-ups, sketching things out in Photoshop. Like you could really start to bullet point all of your features of web design and for every service category. And you can match this up to just, some of the icons that are just built in here we can quickly swap this out and be pretty creative and pretty flexible, on each page without having to really critically think about a lot of different layouts. But the last piece I put on this page, again, is what I did is I used the media block and I created a call to action. So let me go back to the previewing the page. Because here's what I'm thinking. In my head, as an agency owner, person gets to the web design page, they watch the video, they read about how I do web design, maybe they look at some of these feature sets, and maybe they're still not sold. They're still not a customer. What I would do is have a lead capture to potentially turn them into somebody that you could have a phone call with, if not now, in the future. So I use the media block in combination with, in this case, Gravity Forms. I put in a simple email form right into this block. And while I didn't set up all the plumbing here, you can set up Gravity Forms to connect to MailChimp or another service. And when this person subscribes to this email block or this email field, you can then trigger that service or platform to send them the ebook, or at least get them onto an email list. So that's the approach I took. And you can do this with most contact form plugins out there. But I save this as a reusable block so that I can just simply go into my other page. Let's say SEO, which is completely blank right now. But if I wanted to start filling this out with content, I could simply go into my reusable blocks and say, oh, here's my ebook call to action. Let's get that in there. Okay, so we know that's there. And now let's start with, our features again. And we can sort of start to play with this all over again and build out our page. But having to, and put this right at the bottom, and then I can build out the rest of my content up top, saving this sort of call to action into a reusable block. So I can use this through blog posts, through other pages. I can just reuse it throughout the site. And that's another reason why I really like reusable blocks in Gutenberg and in this media card block, is because I can do that. It's so nice and lightweight. It's easy. It's agile. So that's how I built the individual services page. I did another similar approach to that case study. So if we read the case study, I did the same sort of thing here, and you could see with a case study, having the image here and not the cover, right? So we could still do the cover here, but for a case study, like if this were a person, a client, somebody you really wanted to focus on, it makes that image the focal point. But here's again the media block right here, call to action, inline to the content. It just looks good. It looks pretty slick. And then lastly, it's sort of how I did the about page, except on the about page, if this were about me, again, leading with a video, you're trying to differentiate yourself, you're trying to really talk to the customer. In this page, I use the services block again, but this time I changed the style instead of square to circle. I mean, the circle is kind of the thing you see on like the team pages, the about pages of everybody's face. And instead of putting my services in there, I put my name and my title. But the circles just changes things up a little bit. It's a way to mix and match the feel of your site without, again, critically thinking about, boy, how does this affect overall design and that kind of thing. So that's how I tied the home page into, these individual pages. Like you can build out a pretty good agency, consulting, freelancers website pretty quickly with this theme and these handful of plugins. All right. Lastly, last sip. And this is kind of unique to, being in the consulting space for so long, the agency space so long. Contact forms. We've all set them up. We've all seen them. And we've always asked what your budget is, right? It's always like, is it less than $500? Is it 500 to 5,000 and 10,000 and above, whatever it is. Here's what I did with Gravity Forms, just as maybe a unique thing to you as you're watching this as a consultant. If I were to come through and fill out this entire form, and I'm the customer, let's say, hey, my budget's $1,500 to $5,000. Perfect. Give me some feedback, submit the contact form. Matt Medeiros, the consultant, will be in touch with you. what happens for that customer that we don't want to talk to for less than $1,500. And you know how that goes. They submit the form. You're like, oh, God, they don't have the money. I really don't want to have to bother with this. And it sort of gives you that that sticky situation that you just don't want to talk to somebody about money. And boy, you know, we don't have the budget for it, that kind of thing. With Gravity forms and other forms, you can set up conditional elements to the form. So in this case, I said, when I have less than $1,500 budget, it doesn't show the submit button. So the person can't even submit it. And you could put a nice message in there like says, hey, we're sorry. We're not available for your project. We can only work with other customers with a larger budget at this time. So that's a great way to avoid the conversation of money and talking to people that just don't have the budget. But let's go into the forms, and I can show you really quick how I did that. We'll go into the contact form. We'll edit that. It's pretty simple. We'll click on the budget field. Whoops. And we'll go to advanced. And we're going to enable conditional logic. And we're going to say show if, I'm sorry, this is the wrong field. So we're going to show the conditional logic down here. So I have this HTML content. And basically what it says is, we're sorry, we're not currently available, yada, yada, yada. That whole message that I said before. And under the advanced tab, what we're going to do is we're going to say enable conditional logic, show if all matches, and that is budget is less than $1,500. So it's taking from this field, and this will show up when this condition is met. So budget is less than $1,500. It's going to show this message. Awesome. The last thing to set up is under form settings is enabling conditional logic on the submit button. And what we're going to do here is hide this if all of the conditions are met. And again, budget is less than $1,500. It's going to hide that submit button so that the person sees that HTML message instead, and it removes the option for them to submit it. This is just a little nuanced thing. I thought maybe you might enjoy that as a consultant or a freelancer out there. Maybe you can do this in different ways. You can shape this in different ways. It's also great is if somebody were selecting maybe $5,000 and above, you could ask additional questions, right? You could ask additional questions for that project because you know that, well, maybe $1,500 to $3,500 is a sweet spot, and it's all pretty boilerplate at that price point. Maybe I'm just throwing this out there, but if anything's above $5,000 more, well, we want to ask some other qualifying questions like, have you done this before? Is this your first, redesign? Are you the lead on the contact? Like, you can get pretty clever with your customer intake with conditional forms. So pretty powerful. I just wanted to share that little bit with you. So agency, freelancer, consultant, creative website design. What do you think? It's 2020. It's Jetpack, CoBlocks, Gravity Forms, and the 2020 theme in WordPress. Pretty darn easy, right? I hope it was easy. And that's how we set it up. The home page, the about page, the services pages, and then the case study pages. So it made them all kind of unique in their own way, gave them a little touch, gave them a bit of a call to action for you to scoop up leads and enter into your email automation system, contact form with customer validation. Pretty powerful stuff with just a handful of plugins in this theme. Plugintut.com. Plugintut.com/subscribe to join that mailing list. Thumbs up if you like the video. Subscribe if you want more. Share it with friends and family, or at least people in the WordPress space. Don't forget, you can get this hat, mattreport.com or store.mattreport.com. It supports WP and Up, supporting mental health and awareness in the WordPress space. All profits go to that foundation throughout the end of the year. So as long as you buy a hat within the year 2019, all of those profits are going to WP and Up. We'll see you in the next video.